Security is tightened ahead of Pope Francis's visit to Jerusalem this week. Family members of 9/11 victims are concerned and outraged in fear the new museum has an ulterior motive. And a man accused of robbing a retired NYPD officer is shot and killed in Brooklyn. These stories and more, the Pirate News Network starts now.
From the School of Communication Studio at East Carolina University, this is Pirate News Network.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Batista. Welcome to the Pirate News Network. Pope Francis continues his trip across the Middle East today. He arrived Saturday in Jordan, kicking off a 3-day trip to the Middle East that will give him a first-hand look at the plight of Syrian refugees and witness the toll the civil war next door is taking on Jordan. He will travel from Jordan to Jerusalem to Bethlehem, visiting various refugees and disabled children, and will give a total of 13 speeches. The Pope, as customary, will exchange gifts with numerous political and religious leaders. The gifts are part of a larger battle between Israel and the Palestinians to win support for their deep connections to this contested piece of land. The Pope has sought to increase access for prayer to the room the Last Supper was said to have taken place in, and Israel and the Vatican are close to reaching an agreement. His trip started off on a high note. The crowd cheered as he drove into the stadium in Jordan. The trip has been billed as a pilgrimage for prayer. His next stops, Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Ivan Watson shows us how Jerusalem is gearing up for this high-profile visitor and his security.
The Holy City is getting ready. Jerusalem's winding alleyways festooned with the yellow and white flags of the Vatican and its leader, Pope Francis. And as always for the visit of a head of state, security is a major concern.
Our units and our representatives will be fully manned here. There'll be more than 20 officers watching.
Mickey Rosenfeld gives me a tour of the command center of the Israeli police in Jerusalem. With more than 320 cameras posted around the Old City, the police can closely monitor the Pope's every step.
And then we're capable of seeing every different area if we need to focus in for a specific individual.
Rosenfeld says the main threat to the Pope comes from Israeli extremists.
Our units are dealing with criminal incidents with nationalistic motives, price tags as they're known. The majority of incidents that have taken place over the last few weeks have been against Israeli Arabs. There have been 1 or 2 unfortunate incidences against churches.
This month, the Catholic Church in Jerusalem expressed alarm about the recent upsurge of acts of vandalism known as price tags, Hebrew graffiti with anti-Christian slurs. As an added security measure ahead of Pope Francis's visit on Sunday, some shopkeepers in Jerusalem's Old City tell us they've been ordered to close their businesses from Saturday night until Monday.
It's always the big issue of security. Everything goes back to security, They could make security with shops open, but they don't want to do it, It's easier for them just to ask us to close,
The Palestinian Authority's ambassador to the Vatican fears the stringent security measures may turn the Old City into a ghost town.
I cannot understand to separate the Holy Father from his congregations. I cannot understand to see the streets of Jerusalem empty.
For what it says were the purposes of crowd control, Israeli security prevented many Christians from attending Easter services at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre last month. Some Christians here expect the same could happen when the Pope arrives in Jerusalem on Sunday.
When somebody like the Pope comes, you expect to be on the streets and to be able to have visual contact with him. And for faithful people and people that love to see the Pope, that's very important, and that's frustrating when this does not happen.
Despite frustration, there's also pride here and hope that Pope Francis can bring support to this ancient city's dwindling community of Palestinian Christians. Ivan Watson, CNN, Jerusalem.
Family members of those killed in the 9/11 terror attacks are angry about the new museum that just opened in New York. They say it doesn't honor the victims. Alexandra Fields has the story.
Jim Riches lost his son Jimmy, a firefighter, on 9/11, but he won't set foot inside the museum meant to honor the victims.
It's disgusting. It's totally horrible. They were dancing on our son's graves, and I'm very insulted, and I think they crossed the line.
The latest, splashy headlines documenting a VIP cocktail party at the museum the same week it opened. Another affront to some who are already fuming over the museum's gift shop, the plans to open a restaurant, and a $24 admission fee.
I think it's now become a money machine, and it's a revenue-generating tourist attraction.
The museum is defending the party, which it calls a donor reception. In a statement, the museum's president, Joe Daniels, said, quote, "It is absolutely appropriate to thank donors who gave hundreds of millions of dollars and others, including family members, who worked so hard to make the museum a reality. Part of that reality, generating revenue. Museum organizers say it costs $65 million a year to run. But some families insist their loss shouldn't be part of a gain for any reason."
To have a cocktail party all over the graves of 8,000 human remains of New York City's heroes and victims is truly a sacrilege.
The unidentified human remains are housed in the underground museum behind a wall. Some family members feel the location isn't fit for a final resting place. They're vowing to fight to have their loved ones moved above ground, part of the memorial, which is free to the public.
We wanted it to memorialize and honor our loved ones and to tell the story of the day. What happened, I think they lost track of what they were going to do.
Alexandra Field, CNN, New York.
A New York man says he killed a man in self-defense. Police say the 55-year-old driver, a retired NYPD officer, shot at two men who ordered him out of his car and demanded cash. A bullet hit one of the would-be carjackers, killing him. A nearby business owner says violent crime is all too common in the neighborhood.
Why are these kids feeling so desperate that they act this way? Why do they feel that this is their only way to accomplish or to put some money in their pocket?
The second suspect ran away but was later arrested. A weapon, believed to belong to the suspects, was recovered at the scene. A Florida man boating on a lake near Tampa brought his dog along for the ride. When the dog jumped into the water, he dove in after it. The man was able to save the dog, but not himself. Isabel Mascarenas has more.
He loved golfing, he loved people, he had a lot of good friends.
And among the friends on John Patty's pontoon boat Saturday afternoon is his 3-year-old dog, a Yorkie named Rascal.
He usually takes his dog with him boating, and it's usually on a leash, so I'm not sure how it got off the leash. It's a tricky dog.
While boating along Brooker Creek in Lake Tarpon, Pinellas deputies say Rascal jumps into the water.
Mr. Patty jumped in the water after the dog. He saved the dog and then went underwater, and the people on the boat couldn't find him. He disappeared.
Dive teams search into the night. Then around 8:15 this morning, a park visitor spots his body.
Patty's body is found here along Brooker Creek. This is just off the main Lake Tarpon area. But deputies and boaters alike will tell you this water is not the safest to be swimming in.
The water here is very murky. It's very dark. There's a lot of debris underneath, which doesn't make it safe for our divers. And it's very hard to see.
So why wouldn't you go swimming in here again?
It's alligators and bacteria.
An autopsy by the medical examiner will determine what caused Patty's death.
Our deputies say this does appear to be an accident.
While the Buffalo native saves his four-legged friend, his human friends are left mourning.
John was just a great guy. He was always willing to help anybody out any way he could, and he was just a real good friend. And we're going to sure miss him.
In Pinellas County, Isabel Mascarenas, 10 News.
And this is a story of two best friends separated by chance and reunited with the help of some caring volunteers. But it is no ordinary friendship, and this animal magnetism really shows in a video that's going viral online. Joe Vasquez explains.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. G, the goat, was inconsolable.
Pathetic, pitiful, forlorn, depressed.
Ever since he was rescued from the home of a hoarder in Southern California and taken to Animal Place Sanctuary in Vacaville, he did nothing but mope around and refused to eat. He wasn't sick, so it was a mystery, until Jan Galeazzi says she learned Mr. G had a long-lost friend, a small donkey, a female burro named Jelly Bean.
Animal control said he was raised with a burro and that they were best friends, and when they were separated, the burro really brayed and cried a lot. And we said, oh my God, maybe he's grieving for the loss of his friendship.
Animal Place acted quickly. A volunteer drove 14 hours round trip to bring Jelly Bean up from SoCal. The YouTube video of the reunion now has more than 1 million views.
Was suddenly up, lively. You can see his nostrils flaring, his eyes lighting up when she's being unloaded.
And once they finally reunited, an amazing transformation. Not only did Mr. G perk up, but he decided it was time to eat again.
Who wants their treat? Animals have all the emotions that humans do. They form the same sort of bonds and relationships that we do. They feel love, they feel friendship, they feel companionship, they feel sadness, they feel grieving, they feel loss, and sometimes in a more powerful way than I've seen humans express.
In Vacaville, Joe Vasquez, KPIX 5.
Which Led Zeppelin song the band is expected to play in court and why? Police are looking for a man in connection with the stabbing of 2 small children in New York. And former Spanish king Juan Carlos makes his first appearance since stepping down from his position. These stories and more when we come back.